Hello. In this video I want to suggest some practical ways for enjoying a good restful night's sleep. I think one of the problems is that many aspects of modern life adversely affect our ability to fall asleep or to stay asleep once we've fallen asleep. Many of us, for example, spend our waking hours engaged in brain work rather than physical work. As a result, when we get into bed, we're more intellectually tired than we are physically tired. This makes it much harder to switch off. You may have dozed off in front of the television, but the moment your head hits the pillow, you become far more wakeful than sleepful. You'll find ideas whirling around in your overly active brain. You may obsess about the things you've done or failed to do during the day. You may worry about the challenges of the day ahead, and all this prevents you from sleeping. These circulating thoughts will often reoccur when you wake up, especially in the early hours of the morning, the time when the dark night of the soul. You worry, you turn over, these ideas obsess you, and they, as I say, prevent you falling asleep. Now, one of the reasons is that at that time of the day your blood glucose level is especially low, which means your ability to cope with life is at its weakest. Napoleon once remarked that he'd never met a soldier with 3 o'clock in the morning courage. So be aware that if you wake up and you feel worried, it's largely due to your lack of blood glucose. Now I'm going to offer you 10 suggestions for improving your night's rest, for improving the speed with which you can fall asleep. This should be within about 15 minutes, and the ability to stay asleep rather than waking up and worrying. The first thing is to establish a bedtime routine which you follow pretty rigorously, and try not to deviate from that too often. This might include having a shower, just generally winding down. The second point is to avoid anything with caffeine in it, not just coffee or tea, but colas with a lot of caffeine in them. These will certainly make it far harder for you to fall asleep or to stay asleep. The third idea is, between coming home from work and going to bed, you should try and take some exercise in the fresh air. This doesn't necessarily mean putting on jogging shorts and running around, and if you enjoy that, of course you should do that. But just a casual walk around the block, getting some fresh air, or the fresh air such as there is, would be better than sitting slumped in front of a television. So stroll around your neighbourhood rather than actually falling asleep in front of your TV, because that's not a very helpful way of getting a good night's sleep. When you're in bed, avoid using a tablet or an iPhone or anything which has a bright screen, because this will certainly make it far harder for you to fall asleep and to stay asleep. The problem here is that these devices tend to emit a lot of blue light, and this, research has showed, would actually make you more awake than sleepy. So switch off digital products of this kind at least 2 hours before you settle down for sleep. You should regard your bedroom primarily as a place to sleep, and never attempt to do any intellectually demanding work right up to the moment you turn off the light and close your eyes. Now, what about the bedroom itself? Well, this should be as dark as possible. So turn off or cover any devices, such as a clock or a radio for example, that emit even the faintest illumination. Make your curtains as thick and as lightproof as possible. I think this is particularly true if you live in a town or a city where street lights shine through your bedroom windows. The less light there is, the better you will sleep. Turn off any Wi-Fi equipment you have. The reason for this is that frequency they produce can interfere with the natural frequencies of the Earth. This is known as the Schumann resonance. It's something I'll be discussing in a later blog. Point 7. Ensure that while your bed is comfortably warm, the room itself never becomes overheated and stuffy. A slightly humid room is far better than an overly dry one, since it prevents your sinuses from drying out during the night, and dry sinuses can restrict your breathing and make it far harder for you to enjoy a restful night's sleep. Point 8. If noise is not a problem, then leave a window open slightly to ensure a flow of fresh air into your room. Now, 9. If you fail to fall asleep within 15 minutes, I suggest you get out of bed and go into another room and spend 10 minutes or so standing up, walking around, and maybe listening to some soothing music or reading something which is not particularly exciting or stimulating. Do not turn on the television or sit down in a comfortable armchair in case you fall asleep in that chair. When you feel like you want to go to sleep, go back to bed. But again, if you're not asleep within 15 minutes, repeat the process of getting up, standing around, and then going back to bed again. Now, you should continue in this way until you fall asleep within 15 minutes on returning to bed. Now, why do this? It's because it will prevent you associating the bed, and to a lesser extent just being in the bedroom, with feeling wakeful rather than sleepy. You come under stimulus control. Just seeing the bed makes you feel more awake. By breaking this subconscious link and just getting into bed and falling asleep, you will find it much easier to do so thereafter. Finally, point 10. Use the relaxation procedures you can find on our Mind Changers website as an aid to restful sleep. I look forward to speaking to you again in a week or so's time.